end is almost coming into sight, and they're running out of time. Your decision on a dime has you gliding through the sky, and you're
praying that you fly on.
Didn't go as planned, but you're knowing where to land, so you're sticking out your hand while you hit it, cheering.
Fans, commentators in the stands going in a freaking trance when you're
Braves to the pylon.
Welcome to another edition of The Pylon. As always, I'm your host, Milton Woolley, and I'm going to begin this show today by admitting to you guys that I am a pathological liar. Yeah, that's right. I said in my last video that I'm only going to be posting one video this week because my schedule is getting kind of hectic because the class is starting. But then over the weekend, we just got hit left and right with so many stories that I could just not ignore. So here I am with another podcast. I will do this from time to time when my schedule is going to be kind of busy, but I'm just itching to get in contact with you guys to discuss the news that cannot be ignored. So let's get started then with the biggest news of the weekend being Sam Bradford being traded to the Minnesota Vikings. The Philadelphia Eagles traded their starting quarterback and received the Vikings' first-round pick in 2017 and their fourth-round pick in 2018. Sam Bradford originally signed a 2-year deal worth $36 million with the Eagles earlier this offseason. Now, my initial reaction to this move was, okay, I get it. But then I started to think, I'm a low-key, very, very paranoid person. And so I started thinking, why give up a first-rounder for Sam Bradford when you got Teddy Bridgewater hopefully returning to form, ready to go at some point next season? Then I started to think, the paranoia started to kick in. And I was just like, maybe Teddy Bridgewater isn't going to be ready in time next season. Maybe the Vikings know something that we don't. I mean, according to reports, the guy almost had his leg amputated if the training staff and the ambulance weren't there in time. It makes me feel a bit uneasy of the prospects of Teddy Bridgewater ever returning to the field, let alone returning to pre-injury form. Teddy Bridgewater was a bright young star that I liken to a baby Alex Smith. He's not going to light you up for 30-plus touchdowns in a season, or 20 touchdowns for that matter, but he's going to manage the game well and not screw it up for you. He's going to take the safe route more often than not, and that's all Sam Bradford needs to do. I feel like Bradford will definitely pass for more than 14 touchdowns this season, but the main point to take away here is that this team is set up to where Bradford doesn't have to do much except manage the game. Move the chains when they need it the most. They have a really good defense to go along with the ageless wonder and Adrian Peterson. Bradford just needs to hand the ball off and not screw it up for the Vikings. Simple enough. This team made the playoffs last year, only getting 14 passing touchdowns out of their quarterback. And while we're on the subject of quarterbacks heading to some new beginnings, Mark Sanchez is headed to the Dallas Cowboys to serve as a backup to preseason phenom Dak Prescott. Now, here's what I'll say. Mark Sanchez is certainly better than any of the backups that the Dallas Cowboys fielded last year. You know what you're getting out of him, which isn't saying much, but I don't think there's anyone out there that would take Matt Castle or Brandon Weeden over Mark Sanchez. I know I wouldn't. That being said, Mark Sanchez as a player epitomizes how America views the Dallas Cowboys. Just good enough to break your heart. They're their own worst enemy. Mark Sanchez in Dallas is a match made in heaven in that regard, and I find it hilarious, honestly. I think between Sanchez losing the job to Trevor Siemian and heading to Dallas to essentially be the number 3 quarterback when Tony Romo returns basically spells the end of his time as a starter in the NFL, barring anything catastrophic. And speaking of catastrophic, Chip Kelly has named Blaine Gabbert the starter to kick off the season. Well, as you know, I certainly don't agree with it, but his reasoning for going with Gabbert, for now, I can understand. Blaine Gabbert is starting right now because he was there all offseason, basically. Blaine Gabbert won for showing up. Blaine Gabbert won because Colin Kaepernick is currently built like a high school player. Blaine Gabbert won because of attendance. That's it. When you look at their preseason numbers, they're basically identical, except Gabbert has the one touchdown that came off of a busted play in the first game. Gabbert had 3 games compared to the 2 that Colin Kaepernick had, and he still put up similar numbers. What should that tell you? Chip Kelly certainly doesn't sound too sold on Gabbert holding on to the job, and I'm not either. What Chip Kelly basically said is, Kaepernick, get in the weight room, beef up to your old self, and just wait for Blaine Gabbert to mess it up, because he will mess up. And we're going to be back and rolling with you as a starter. Now, I'm not saying Kaepernick is or was ever a top 5 or maybe even top 10 quarterback, and his numbers have dipped every year since he took over the starting job in 2012. But look, they had to actually be up high somewhere for them to actually take a dip. Blaine Gabbert's numbers have been in the dirt since he's been in the league, and he's been an established loser. 49ers fans, brace yourselves. Another losing season is upon you. One of the subscribers to the show asked if I was going to do a video on the Super Bowl rematch between the Carolina Panthers and the Denver Broncos. And even if I had the time to do the proper editing for it, I wouldn't have. Panthers should win this game. Denver's defense should still be good, but they lost some pieces, and Panthers are getting back Kelvin Benjamin. I think it'll be a close game, but I think the Panthers take this one because they will be better prepared. Hopefully, for Cam Newton's sake, this offensive line is better prepared and gives Cam Newton some room to operate back there. Trevor Siemian is possibly physically better than Peyton Manning was last year, but at least Manning had his brain to fall back on. Luke Kuechly and Thomas Davis's football smarts far outweighs Siemian's in my eyes, so the defense may have more of an advantage. That might spell some trouble for Denver's offense, in my opinion. But anyway, that's all I have for today. It's looking like the new schedule for the show will be Tuesdays and Thursdays because those are the days I have the biggest gaps in time. Plus, I feel like those are the best days because Tuesdays is when all the dust from the weekend will be settled, and Thursdays I can start, sort of a preview going into the next week of the season. Keep an eye out for the podcast that I may drop sporadically in case I have some thoughts on certain subjects and I want to talk to you guys about it. Look out for my new Super Bowl prediction video coming this Thursday. If it doesn't come Thursday, it will certainly be here on Friday. I'm your host, Milton Woolley, and this has been another edition of The Pylon.